After learning that 88% of people fizzle out on their New Year's resolutions within 2 short weeks, I thought New Year's intentions would lead to better results. Well, evidently, my brain considers resolutions and intentions to be the same thing with a 2 week expiration date. So, if you like the idea of starting 2025 with direction and want it to last longer than 14 days, here are a couple of ADHD-friendly alternatives you might just love. Regardless of the term we use, these declarations of future behavior probably won't work for those of us with ADHD traits. And of course, I'm referring to New Year's resolutions, aka intentions. There are several reasons for this. For one, we have difficulty with planning. People with ADHD typically struggle to translate intentions into actions, which can make it hard to stick to your resolutions or intentions, especially those that require multiple steps and consistency. We also tend to have difficulty with follow through. Hey, I'll be the first one to admit I'm terrific at starting things, but can lose steam quickly after the initial novelty wears off, especially when the results don't happen quickly or just don't feel as meaningful as I expected them to. Hey, it's hard for all humans to maintain focus and motivation over time, but it's harder still for us. So our efforts become sporadic, and this ultimately sabotages our accomplishment. The third reason is impulsivity and time blindness. We may give into immediate gratification because we're chasing the dopamine hit while forgetting our bigger, longer term goal, and also lose sight of just how long it might actually take to reach our desired outcome. We might also think we can afford to procrastinate on getting started and then double down near the imaginary finish line and be dead wrong. So, maybe instead of sticking with New Year's resolutions and the same disappointing results as last year, in this mini-sode, I want to offer you a couple of options that I think have a better chance of success. Now, in the last few years, two alternatives to New Year's resolutions have been circulating in some various ADHD-oriented online communities, including well-known ones like Chad and the ADHD-focused subreddits. So in the next few short minutes, I want to give you a quick breakdown on two of them and what I would suggest you do if you'd like to give them a try. The first one is the theme year. Now, this isn't brand new, but I'm going to give you some ADHD-friendly ways to own it if you decide to give it a shot. And if you've never heard of the theme year, it simply means instead of specific resolutions, you choose a theme that guides your actions and choices throughout the year in several different categories. This allows for what I think is the sweet spot of flexibility and adaptation while still providing a sense of direction. So, for the sake of this example, let's say you decide your theme is strength. Then, for all of 2025, you try to do more things that will make you stronger. Now, when I talk about categories, this could be domains of your life, different aspects of your life. So let's just say in the physical realm, strength could mean joining a gym or turning your daily round-the-block dog walk into a genuine hike, which your body and your pet will love you for. It could also be mental strength. So that could be deciding to deal with your trauma by finding an EMDR-trained therapist or learning strategies to manage your rejection sensitivity in business and your personal life. All of these will make you stronger and are aligned with the theme of strength. Strength can also be applied to interpersonal relationships. So speaking up for yourself when dealing with toxic relatives or insisting that your clients actually pay on time, strength is strength. And like all human behavior, it can become habit forming, which is absolutely what we want when we try the theme year approach. So, some of the ways that I like to recommend using this strategy to my own clients is choose 3 areas of your life to apply the theme to, no more. So many of us have this all or none thinking that I'm going to do this theme year thing and I'm going to apply it to absolutely every inch of my life. Okay, you might not even make it to 2 weeks if you do that. Okay. So the goal is to stay again in the sweet spot between structure and flexibility, rejecting rigidity and maintaining meaning. So the 3 broadest categories you could choose are health, money, and relationships. And you can niche down as far as you want within each of them. If you are a person who happens to have an itchy trigger finger like I do when it comes to boredom, you may want to think about shifting your 3 target areas every quarter. Hell, you can do it every month if you need to. Own the strategy and adapt it to work for your brain and your preferences. The whole point to the theme year is to be successful and not to set yourself up for failure or sabotage by going with the resolutions that I don't know anyone they have ever worked for. So make this as flexible as you need to and as structured as you need to. You've got lots of room for adaptation. You can get as dialed in or as loosey goosey as you want. I've had clients who simply created a screensaver for their laptop with their theme words surrounded by a really groovy design. And every day when they fired up their machine, they're reminded to make choices and take actions that are aligned with that theme. That's all they did, and it worked for them. Other people kind of like to track their efforts and hold themselves more accountable to specific things. And if that's you, this could be anything from like adding a dollar bill or a penny, even if it works, to a jar every single time you take aligned action. And then at the end of the year, hopefully you'll have a nice little wad of cash that you can buy yourself something with. You can even use a little kid's sticker chart. There's no shame in this game. There are no specific benchmarks required with this approach. If you need them, add them. But that's because the theme year is not technically a productivity strategy. So don't worry about including SMART goals. You can also combine the theme year approach with SMART goals or any other strategy you like if you find it helpful and you won't resent it. But if you do that, please keep in mind we are talking about a whole ass year, as in 12 months, 365 days, 525,600 minutes. That is a lot of opportunity for procrastination, impulsivity, time blindness, and distractibility to come along and steal your win. I've used the theme year approach on and off because, hey, ADHD, I still have to try new things even when the ones I'm using are still working. But I have found that I could turn it into a game to challenge myself to see how many places in my life that I could apply the theme word over the course of a year. And because I require a lot of stimulation and a lot of novelty, that is what made the theme year approach work for me. I think I did it every 1 to 2 months, shift the areas that I was applying it. So it continued to feel novel and fresh and exciting and fun. Now, this approach might feel good for you if you want to work and live more intentionally, but you just recoil from rigid, rule-laden systems that make you want to toss them in the garbage before you even hit the 2-week mark. So keep it simple. Choose your theme, then ask yourself, what 3 areas of my life do I want to start off applying it to? You can give yourself some examples of how that would look, and then decide how much or how little tracking you need to maintain focus, motivation, and momentum. And I would also say interest and fun. If you like the idea of a theme year, but you're kind of drawing a blank on what theme to actually choose, here are a handful of ADHD-friendly examples that some of my personal coaching clients have worked with, and I think they might suit you too. Connection, creativity, curiosity, discovery, depth, and growth. I want to choose all of those, actually. Most people are going to reflect on the past year and see where they've struggled. And when you're being kind to yourself, when you are practicing radical self-acceptance, you can see maybe where you've struggled and where you'd like to improve, and then try to find a pattern that can be summed up in a theme. If you're having trouble being kind to yourself, you can toss what your goals are into Goblin Tools or ChatGPT or even a regular thesaurus to come up with some alternatives to what you might be telling yourself. Remember, you want your theme to be aspirational, but also within reach. Because if your brain thinks, oh, this is going to be hard, trust me, you're not going to do it. Now, we're going to move on to the second alternative to the New Year's resolution. Are you ready for it? This one's called the nudge. Health writer Tara Parker Pope wrote an article almost 2 years ago in the Washington Post encouraging people, instead of doing New Year's resolutions, to choose a nudge word or a nudge motto. Now, a nudge is considered to be any intervention that gently steers someone toward a desired action. The origin of the term is the 2008 book Nudge by Thaler and Sunstein. And this book is a leadership book. It is a book related to organizational psychology. And in it, the authors defined the nudge as, quote, any aspect of the choice architecture that alters people's behavior in a predictable way without forbidding any options or significantly changing their economic incentives, unquote. Yikes. That sounds like a whole lot of manipulation. What it actually means, and applying this to us, solopreneurs, creatives, and small business owners, nudges are basically gentle reminders to do things that help us feel and function better. One of my clients loves being in a state of hyper focus because she gets so much done during those periods. But that hyper focus comes with a cost. She forgets to move, she forgets to eat, and she forgets to hydrate for hours at a time. And that has negative consequences to body and brain. So we decided that she would try nudging and have 2 different reminders on her phone that alternate every couple of hours. One reminder says walk, and the other says water. We first tried drink, but that became problematic in the evenings. So it's walk and water. As I said, they alternate every couple of hours because her hyperfocus is hard to interrupt. So we realized she needed to have repetitions. One was not going to bring her out of the state of hyperfocus. So these reminders are set to repeat every 10 minutes until she responds. Now, let me be honest with you. Sometimes she disables them. I know it for a fact. We've talked about it. But more often than not, she gets up, she drinks some water, or she walks around the house, she walks the dog, she walks down the long driveway to the mailbox. She moves her body. And it's not so much that she can't get back to work, but she's not going for hours and hours and hours, just sitting in front of the computer, not eating, not drinking, not peeing, not nothing, but working. And this approach, if you use it, also comes with the requirement. Well, it's not a requirement. You do you. But I strongly recommend that you give up any feeling of guilt or shame for the times that you don't decide to do what the nudge suggests. It's a nudge, right? We're not in prison. There's no enforcement. It is a friendly, gentle reminder to do something that's good for you. And if you don't, you don't. You probably weren't going to anyway. So at least with the nudge, you're more likely to do it more often. And that is the whole freaking point. Here's the bottom line, friend. 2025 is going to pass, whether we live it intentionally or not. Some of us wish it was over already for obvious reasons, but I tend to believe that we feel better and function better when we have some sense of agency and control over our lives combined with a sense of purpose. So here we are on the very last day of 2024, and most of us have changes we'd like to make in the coming year. So whether you call your desired change a New Year's resolution, if it works for you, stick with it. Or you decide to try the theme year or the nudge word. Hey, you can make it a rallying cry, a personal mission statement, or anything you want. But living more aligned with something meaningful to you is what matters. I want to thank you for being an ADHD-ish listener this year, and I hope that you will continue to stick around for the next one. I've started working with an expert podcast consultant, Jeremy Enns, and we'll be making some very exciting changes to the show in the coming year so that it is even more aligned with my goal of bringing you the very best content for entrepreneurs, creatives, and small business owners with ADHD traits. So if that sounds good and you haven't subscribed yet, now would be a good time. You don't want to miss out on any of the juicy goodness I have in store for you in 2025. Happy New Year.